is someone who enjoys being needed. Maybe you're like that too. Maybe you're the kind of person that you're the busiest person in the world. You're always doing something. But when you come across someone who is very much in need, if somebody works up the courage to walk up to you and say, I need your help. Can you help me? You're the kind of person who will drop everything and you'll do what's needed to meet that need. That's the God that Jesus is describing in these parables. God delights in being needed and meeting that need. And so we learn something about spirituality here. Being so self-sufficient that we don't need anyone, it can kind of make us a recluse from God. It can take us off the grid when it comes to being found by God. There are so many grids that we're on in this world today. There are so many systems that are continually finding us in our wired world. I've been noticing, the province of Ontario must have passed some legislation in the last 6 months, because it seems like in the last 6 months, it's non-stop advertisements about online gaming. Are you noticing it too? It's non-stop. And I'm a good Canadian. I love Wayne Gretzky. But it seems like Wayne Gretzky now, I don't know if he ran out of money or something and he needed a new gig, but Wayne is always there letting me know that I can gamble 24/7 from my phone whenever I want. Always being found by particular gods in our world. And it struck me, I think it was last week, when I heard one of these commercials just pop up on my phone, and talk about just cut to the chase and not try to mask it. The commercial was like 10 seconds straight. It just held up a phone and said, and now you can have access to gambling 24/7, 365 days on your phone. Oh, well, thank you for telling the truth. How do I get off of the grids for gods who are in competition with the God of creation? It takes a lot of energy, I think. And maybe something, if it's not, I'm talking about gambling right now, but think about other grids like addictions, other grids like anger, just other gods that are dominating our lives, who are continually finding us. Wherever we turn, there they are, they find us. How do we turn our lives around, if we even want to, so that we can be found by God? I think a lesson that we, as good, upstanding United Church people, can take from Jesus' parable about the lost sheep and the lost coin. Jesus' message to these upstanding, religious, righteous people in his day is that sometimes our spirituality can be continually finding ways to be off of God's grid. That our spirituality may be, what way can I keep distant from God so that God doesn't find me? That I can live my life in a way that I'm living off of God's grid. That I built a firewall of sorts so that I just can't feel God's presence, and I really don't want to be involved with God. I think that's one of the dangers we have in being so self-sufficient religiously. Let me end the sermon about lost and found with this delightful story. Betty Jean. Betty Jean and her husband married for over 50 years, and her husband's health was declining, and they had to make a move and downsize. A lot of you know what it feels like, downsize. And in all of that moving, one day, Betty Jean was washing her hands, and then she looked at her fingers and she realized that her wedding ring was missing, that she'd lost it somewhere. Her bluebird diamond, as the story is told. I've never heard of a bluebird diamond, but I don't know, it makes it sound special. And just being a wedding ring, someone that you've been with for all those decades, certainly makes it not just special, but sacred. And you know exactly what Betty Jean did after that. She just turned her house upside down. She searched, but she couldn't find it. And she was just so upset. There's never any good time to lose your wedding ring, but at this point in her life and her husband's life, it was just such a blow. Her daughter convinced her that she should go out and she should buy a replacement ring. You know, that it was important to her to have that ring. And her daughter said, like, where would you like to go? Where can we go shopping for a ring? Betty Jean, she doesn't have a lot of money, and so she said, let's go down to the local pawn shop, and maybe I'll be able to find something there that I can afford. And so her daughter went with her to the pawn shop, and they looked, in the glass case, and there were these, whatever you call them, these boxes that have wedding rings in them. And she opened the first one, and it was beautiful, but just wasn't the right look, and opened another. And when she got to the fourth box, she opened it, and if you haven't figured out already, to her surprise, there was her bluebird diamond wedding ring. And she just gasped, and she said to her daughter, "There's my ring," she said to the pawn shop owner. "That's my bluebird diamond ring." And in the hours and the days to follow, the pawn shop owner, working with the police, traced back to someone who had found it in a parking lot and had brought it in to the pawn shop. And she was reunited with that bluebird diamond ring. And how did she feel? How did it feel looking around this room just for a measly dime or a quarter? Some of you are upset that you didn't find the toonie. But the joy of I know there's some of you for this whole service, you weren't paying attention to a single prayer that I did. You weren't paying attention to anything in the sermon because your mind was still trying to figure out, where is that 10th coin? That's just a drop in the bucket of how this woman felt. It's just a drop in the bucket of how God feels when we're lost and we're in need of being found. God delights in discovering us, and God invites us along that same journey. That our job is to bring God delight, to help God find others. And in doing so, we find just a little bit of delight for ourselves. Amen.